Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we bravely go where common sense says, maybe don't. Today, we're digging into an analysis comparing Japan's political climate with that of a certain powerful neighboring country ruled by what the source calls a local emperor. And keeping our mics from mysteriously disappearing mid-episode is our fearless producer, FireflyHaku, who handles these topics with the grace of a ninja. So, let's get into it. Two systems and two very, very different futures.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the leaders at the very top. Then we'll dive into how the youth are feeling in each place, hope versus, well, not hope. After that, we'll get into the weeds on what it means to be a citizen, look at the role of women, and finally, wrap it all up by looking at the two divergent paths these nations are on.
Okay, first up, a tale of two leaders. The source material kicks things off by putting two leadership symbols side by side, and they could not be more different.
And here's where the contrast gets really vivid. On one side, you've got Japan's first female prime minister, Sanae Takaichi, a former heavy metal drummer and a motorcycle enthusiast. I mean, how cool is that? On the other side, the analysis describes China's leader as an expressionless ruler, the head of what it calls an emperor-eunuch system. Now that's a loaded term, meant to paint a picture of a court where absolute, unquestioning loyalty is all that matters. It's basically individuality versus total conformity. So, what does this all mean for the next generation? Well, the source argues that these leadership styles have a huge impact on how young people see their own futures. And check out these numbers. According to polling data the source cites, Takaichi's election sparked a massive wave of support, especially from younger people. We're talking an 80% approval rating for those under 40. It seems to suggest a generation that's just been starved for change after 30 years of stagnation. They see her, and they see hope. But while Japan's youth are feeling energized, the analysis argues that many young people in China feel like they're just hitting a wall. There's this widespread feeling of hopelessness, a sense that all the doors are closed and their paths are blocked by a system that doesn't reward individual ambition. And this has led to a whole movement called lying flat. It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a kind of quiet protest where young people just decide to opt out. They do the bare minimum to get by because they feel like the rat race is rigged and all their energy and talent will just get eaten up by the system for nothing in return. The source really drives this point home with a chilling quote that sums it all up. As long as I am alive, your future belongs to me. The analysis argues that this sentiment has created what it calls a young person's hell, where an entire generation's ambition is basically being held hostage. So where does this all come from? Why the hope on one side and the hopelessness on the other? Well, the source argues it stems from two political philosophies that are just fundamentally opposed to each other. And it boils down to this: citizen politics versus bloodline politics. Citizen politics is an open system where, in theory, anyone can rise up. Bloodline politics, on the other hand, is a closed system. It's not just about who you know or where you come from, it's about proving your absolute, unquestioning loyalty. And the examples here really tell the story. In Japan, the source points out, you can have someone like Kimi Onoda, who was born in the US to an American father, become a cabinet minister. Or Xi Jinping, a China-born immigrant, get elected to their parliament. In contrast, the source claims that in China, having connections overseas is seen as a political original sin, and power is all about your background and, again, that eunuch-like obedience. All right, next, the analysis turns to the role of women in politics, and it really challenges some common assumptions, using it as another sharp point of contrast between these two societies.
Now, this is fascinating. The source points out that despite whatever you might hear, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan have all had female heads of state. But in China, it argues, women are noticeably absent from the real core of power, even with all the official talk about equality. The source even notes that while the US hasn't had a female president yet, women are all over other top-level positions.
And for anyone who might point to a few high-ranking women in China's government, the source has this incredible food analogy. It says those appointments are like a few scallions in a stir-fry. Yeah, they're there, but they're just garnish. They don't actually change the dish. The system itself, it argues, stays exactly the same.
So, let's pull all this together. What's the end game? The final part of this analysis really looks at the long-term consequences of these two very different political paths.
And the central argument is this. One country is moving forward on a modern path by embracing citizen politics. The other is stuck in what the source calls that emperor-eunuch cycle. Basically, a repeating loop of history that's holding back its own progress and dynamism.
So the analysis leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. Which path actually creates a vibrant future? Is it the society that lets a nonconformist, a former heavy metal drummer, take the lead? Or is it the one where fitting in is everything? The source makes its case pretty clear. So hit subscribe, join the rebellion, and let's deep dive again soon before this episode gets mysteriously unavailable in your region.